Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to my channel. Today, in this video, we are going to learn Class 9 English chapter, The Storyteller. And it's part 2 of this chapter. Part 1 we have already seen and learned in my earlier video. So let's quickly start up. But before that, students, if you are watching my video for the first time, do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get the notifications of all the upcoming videos. And do watch the video till end. And if you like it, hit the like button. Also share with your friends. So let's quickly revise about the author. We had already seen yesterday H. Monroe. He is the author of this lesson. His pen name is Saki, and he is known for his witty, mischievous, and macabre stories. And he is also considered as the master of short stories. And he is also compared to O. Henry and Dorothy Parker, who are well known and famous writers and authors in the field of literature. So let's continue with the chapter. We had seen that how the children and the aunt were traveling in the train compartment where we had a stranger, and now he had started with the story of which he was saying to the children there. And the story goes like there was a girl by name Bertha who was very good girl in character, and she had many medals which she had always worn on her neck, and whenever she used to walk it used to cling and make noises. So there was a question posed by the children that was she pretty. So he said no, she was not pretty, but she was horribly good. So horribly good, quoted Seidel when he heard this, and everybody talked about her goodness, and the prince of the country got to hear about it, and he said that as she was very good, she might be allowed once a week to walk in his park, which was just outside the town. It was a beautiful park, and no children were ever allowed in it, so it was a great honor for Bertha to be allowed to go there. So, this is the story which the stranger is saying to the children that as she was a good girl and her goodness was known to the prince of that area of that country, and he, as a gift, as a praise, he allowed this girl once a week to walk in his park, which was just outside the town, and it was a very beautiful park, and no children were ever allowed in it. So it was a great honor for Bartha for going and to be allowed to go to that park there. Now the question again arises of the children from the sidle that were there any sheep in the park? Bachelor said no, there were no sheep. So again he asked Seidel that why weren't there any sheep? And that was the question which could not be stopped or could not be delayed. But and now when he was asking this question, Aunt permitted herself with a smile. Now Aunt was smiling because she was not successful in answering the questions and saying the story to the children, and this was as a challenge which was taken by the stranger. So she had a smile on her face when he asked the second question. But again, very nicely, the stranger asks, says that there were no sheep in the park because the prince's mother had once had a dream that her son would either be killed by a sheep or a clock falling on him. So for that purpose, prince never kept a sheep in his park nor a clock in his palace. So this was the answer beautifully given by the strange. And now the aunt suppressed a gasp of admiration. Now she was just admiring the stranger, that how is he so well, so nicely his telling the story, and how the children they have been just admiring and listening to him interestingly. Then again the question arises by Cyril that was the prince killed by a sheep or by a clock? So he says he is still alive, so we can't tell whether the dream will come true or not. So anyway, there were no sheep in the park, but there were lots of little pigs running all over the palace. So now again the question arises, what color were they? So he says black with white faces, white with black spots, black all over, grey with patches, and some were white all over. So this was the description of pigs given by the stranger. Then the storyteller paused to let a full idea of the park's treasure sink into the children's imaginations, and then he resumes. Like he gives them time to imagine whatever he's saying, and then he resumes again. Mrs. Bertha was rather sorry to find that there were no flowers in the park. She had promised her aunts, with tears in her eyes, that she would not pick any of the kind princess flowers, and she had meant to keep her promise. So of course it made her feel silly to find that there were no flowers to pick. Okay, so here Bertha, before coming to the park, she had promised her aunt that she would never, not even pluck a single flower from the park, from the kind princess park. And when she came there, she found so silly that there were no flowers to pick at all in the park. So now again the question is there, that why weren't there any flowers in the park? So he again, the stranger very shrewdly he gives the answer. He says because the pigs had eaten them all, and the gardeners had told the prince that you could not have pigs and flowers both. So he decided to have pigs and no flowers in his garden. Now there was a murmur of approval at the excellence of Prince's decision. So many people would have decided the other way. Like many of them would have decided to have flowers in the park. That would be more colorful and more beautiful. It would make the beauty of the park more. But why did this decision taken by the king? This was the murmur which was going on. He said by many of the people, because they would have decided the other way. They would have decided to have flowers in the garden instead of pigs. Anyhow, there were lots of other delightful things in the park, he said. There were ponds with golden, blue, and green fish in them, and the trees were beautiful. There were beautiful parrots in it, and they said clever moments which they noticed there. Hummingbirds were there, which they hummed all the popular tunes throughout the day. Then Bertha walked up and down and enjoyed herself immensely there. And she thought to herself that if I were not so extraordinarily good, I should not have been allowed to come into this beautiful park and enjoy all that there is to be seen in it. She was feeling very happy for being there. She was just thinking about all these things by herself. Then three medals clinked against one another as she walked and helped to remind her how very good she really was. Okay, then whenever the noise of the medals clinked and she heard, it reminded her that she was such a good girl, that she has got this opportunity there. Just then, an enormous wolf came crawling into the park to see if it could catch a fat little pig for its supper. Okay, so there was a wolf coming there towards the park to see and catch a fat little pig for its supper, for its food. Now, what color was it? The wolf. The question was asked with the children. Mud color all over, with black tongue and pale grey eyes that gleamed with unspeakable ferocity. Means it looked very dangerous, ferocious. The first thing that it saw in the park was Bertha. Now, what did the wolf notice first thing in the park today? It was Bertha. Her pinafore was so spotlessly white and clean that it could be seen from the great distance. Now, pinafore is a kind of a skirt or a dress which she was wearing, so it was so clean and white that it was visible from a great distance, and so that wolf had seen her. Now, Bertha saw the wolf and saw it that it was stealing towards her, and she began to wish that she had never been allowed to come into the park. Now, she was afraid when she saw this wolf and that the wolf is coming towards her, and now she starts thinking that I wish that I would have never come here. Now, she ran as hard as she could, and the wolf came after her with huge leaps and bounds. Wolf is not going to leave her, so he just was followed with the huge leaps and bounds, followed Bertha. Now, she somehow managed to reach the shrubbery of myrtle bushes. Myrtle is a kind of plant or a flower, you can say, which gives fragrance. Usually, we extract oil from it. It gives fragrance. So she hid herself behind that because it was thickest of the bushes. The wolf came sniffing there among the branches with the long black tongue lolling out of its mouth and its pale grey eyes. Bertha was very terribly frightened and thought to herself, if I had not been so extraordinarily good, I should have been safe in the town at this moment. Now she is thinking, I should not have been so good, and I would be in the town this time. I would be safe. I would not come in the hands of this wolf now. However, she was sitting and hiding there, and the scent of the myrtle was so strong that the wolf could not sniff out Bertha, that where she was hiding, and he could not make out. And even he was not able to hunt because there was long bushes, and it would take long time for him to catch her. So instead, Wolf thought, why not go and catch a little pig instead? So he returned from there. He was returning. Now, Bertha was trembling very much at the having the wolf prowling and sniffing so near her, and as she trembled, the medal for obedience clinked against the medals for good conduct and punctuality. So she was so trembling, she was nervous, she was shivering that her medals which was wearing, it started clinking, and again the noise started to come out. And the wolf, who had just moved away, he heard the sound of the medals clinking and stopped to listen from where it's coming. And then they clinked again in the bush quite near him. He was very near to Bertha, but he was not able to find her. But this clinging sound of the metal again came, and he just noticed where it was coming from. He dashed into the bush, his pale grey eyes gleaming with ferocity and triumph, and dragged Bertha out and devoured her to the last morsel. So at last he catched her and he just ate it as a last morsel. So this is how Bertha was in a great problem here. Now, all that was left of her were her shoes, bits of clothing, and three medals for goodness. At last, so sad, what happened with her? She was eaten as a last morsel by the wolf, and what was left out there was just her shoes, her bits of clothing, and three medals for goodness which she had. Then the question again arises from the children: were any of little pigs killed? No, they all escaped, said the stranger. The story began badly, said the smaller of the small girls, but it had a beautiful ending. It is the most beautiful story that I ever heard, said the bigger of the small girls with the immense decision. And it is the only beautiful story I have ever heard, said Cyril. So all the children, all the three children over there, they appreciated the story, they liked it. A dissentient opinion came from the aunt. Means even though the majority of them were agreeing that it was a good one, the aunt was not agreeing. She was opposing the majority of the decisions. So her opinion was like, no, it's not a good one. But most of the children they liked it. All the children liked it there. Then, a most improper story to tell the young children. You have undermined the effect of years of careful teaching. This was said by aunt that this is the most improper story to tell to the young children. Whatever years of careful teaching we have done of moral character, good conduct, everything is a waste now. You have undermined it. At any rate, said the bachelor, collecting his belongings preparatory to leaving the carriage, I kept them quiet for 10 minutes, which was more than you were able to do. So he says, at any cost, I could say the story, and he started collecting his all belongings so that he could leave for the next stop, which was about to come. And he said, I kept quiet the children for at least 10 minutes, which was more than you were able to do. The Kant was not able to keep them quiet for even a minute. So it was more than that, he said. Unhappy woman, he observed to himself as he walked down the platform of Templecombe station. For the next 6 months or so, those children will assail her in public with demands for an improper story. So while getting down, he says that he saw and had a look that she was an unhappy woman at the time, and he also said for the next 6 months, those children will always be asking her in public and demanding her to say a story which is improper, as this stranger had said today. So this is how the stranger made children keep quiet by his improper story, whatever was said to them, and children liked it and appreciate it. So here ends the lesson. I hope you all have understood it. And if you like the video, do hit the like button and do not forget to subscribe the channel and also share with your friends. So keep watching my videos. We'll be back soon with more such videos. Till then, stay safe and take care. Thank you.